How's it going, guys? 𝙎𝙤𝙤𝙧 here, taking over the Mystery Tackle Box channel for the day, and today we're going to be talking about fishing knots, and in particular we're going to be talking about the 3 most important fishing knots that you guys need to know. Honestly, these are the only 3 fishing knots that you need to know. They're going to cover all the bases. Everything that you're ever going to need to tie a knot for will be covered by these 3 knots. So let's just jump right into it. First and foremost, this is a knot that a lot of you guys probably already know, and if you do, you can skip ahead to knot number 2, but in my opinion, this is the most important knot in all of fishing. I use it every single time that I go out on the water, and that is the Palomar knot. So like I said, a lot of you probably know this, but super important knot. And what we're gonna do is I have this little kind of yarn twine thing, and I have this makeshift hook that we're going to use so you guys can see this a little bit more easily. But you're going to take the end of the line and you're going to put it through the eye of the bait that you are tying on. And all you do is you put it through the eye of that bait, and once you have your tag end, you run it back through the way that it just came. So you have yourself a nice little loop. So you have a loop on this side and you have a tag end and your main line on the other end. And all you're going to do is you're going to tie a knot with this loop end, just like you're tying a regular overhand knot. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take this big loop and we're going to wrap it around the entire bait that you guys are tying on, just like so. And the next step would be you would lubricate your line. It's super important, especially if you guys are using fluorocarbon line. You could use a little bit of saliva, or you could just dip your entire bait in the water, whatever you feel comfortable with. But you put a little bit of saliva on this, and after that you take your tag end and you take your main line and you just cinch that completely tight. And that is a Palomar knot. It takes all of 5 seconds to tie, and this thing will not fail you. If you snap your line, it's probably because you had a nick or something along the way. Your line tie is not going to fail you. So that is the Palomar knot. That is knot number 1. Like I said, a lot of you guys probably already knew that one, but we're gonna jump into knot number 2 and 3, and knot number 2 and 3 are a little bit more complex, and some of you guys may have never tied these before. So knot number 2 is a little bit more complex, and a lot of you guys probably haven't tied this one, but this is for flipping heavy cover when you're using a heavy cover flipping hook. So I'm going to throw that on the screen so you guys can see what those hooks look like. You need to be using this hook and this knot in a situation where you're flipping heavy cover, heavy grass, vegetation, flipping it up into laydown, something like that, where you're using really heavy line and you want to use that heavier duty flipping hook. So the reason that you shouldn't tie a Palomar knot with this style of hook is because you're not going to get as good of a hookup ratio. So the whole point of this snell knot is to drive that hook upwards when you set the hook on those fish. The way that this knot is going to set up, it's going to allow for your hook to fly upwards into the fish's mouth, basically. So once we get this tied, I'll show you guys exactly what I mean, but let's just jump right into this knot. So for the snell knot to work, you have to take into account which way the hook is facing for this one. So the Palomar knot doesn't really matter which way you put the line through, but the snell knot, you want to take your line, your tag end right here, and you want to put it through the front part of the hook. So you go from wherever the hook point is facing out, you want to put the line through to the back of the hook. So that is what we have done right here, as you guys can see. Now, what you want to do is you want to get a good sized tag end, probably like a foot or 2. Depends on what you're comfortable working with. Once you guys see the knot, you'll see exactly what I mean here. But you're going to take your tag end and you're going to pinch it off right on the back side of where that bait keeper would be. So it's going to look just like this. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take that tag end and you're going to make a little loop on the back and pinch it off on the other side as well. So on the back of the hook, you're going to have this little loop right here, and you're going to have your dangling tag end along with your main line going through the eye of the bait. Between the bait keeper and between where the eye of the bait starts, there's a little tiny gap. It's probably like 1/4 of an inch long. And you're going to take that tag end and you're going to start wrapping it around that little open area right there. And you want to do about 5 or 6 wraps to make sure that the knot is not going to pull through. And so now you have this loop in the back of the hook, and you're going to take this tag end and you're going to put it through that loop right there. And so all you got to do for this knot after that is you hold on to this tag end on the back of the hook, and you take your main line that's at the hook eye and you just pull that completely tight. Make sure it goes over the bait keeper there, and you just cinch that down just like so. and you have yourself a perfectly tied snell knot. Like I said, the reason that you want to tie a snell knot is because when you set the hook, it's going to be hard to show you guys exactly what I mean with this, but when you set the hook or whenever the weight drops down on the top of this bait right here, it's going to drive the hook upwards. The way that this line pulls, it's going to drive the hook right into the roof of the fish's mouth, which is exactly what you want. So that is a snell knot. That's for heavy cover pitching and flipping. Knot number 2, knockdown. And so we're gonna get into knot number 3. It is a braid to fluoro knot, and you have to know how to tie one of these. Nowadays, pretty much anyone that's throwing a spinning rod is throwing braid to fluorocarbon. I used to throw straight fluorocarbon. You could do it, but you're gonna get a lot more tangles. You're not gonna be able to detect bites as much. I throw 10-pound Power Pro braid and I tie it to like an 8-pound fluorocarbon leader, and we're gonna show you guys the best braid to fluoro knot that you could possibly tie. So to tie the Albright knot, we're going to use the white line to signify your fluorocarbon leader, and we're going to be using the green line to signify the braided line that you would be using. So first step, what you want to do is you want to take your fluorocarbon leader and you want to fold off the end of it. Just make a nice little pinch, and you want to leave probably like a 5 or 6 inch little tag end there on the side. And so step number 2, you're going to take your braided line and you're going to put it through that little loop that you've created on the end of the fluorocarbon line. And you're going to want a decent amount of braided line because you're going to be wrapping this thing up like a freaking mummy, and I'd say a good foot or 2 is what you're going to want to pull through there. And you're going to take the braided line, so we've put it through that loop one time right there, and you're going to want to start wrapping it around that little fluorocarbon loop that you have created. So you're going to want to wrap it around about 5 or 6 times, same as the snell knot. And once you get to the end there, you're going to want to pinch the end of your braided line on the fluorocarbon leader. So you want to leave a little bit of line extra. You don't want to wrap the braided line past where your tag end is. And you wrapped it around about 5 or 6 times. Then you're going to pinch it off and you're going to start wrapping it back the exact opposite way. Again, like 4 or 5 times. Usually I do like 1 less time. So if you did 6 wraps around the first time, then I usually do about 5 wraps around the second time. And so once you have that action going on, you're going to take your line, the tag end of the braided line, and you're going to put it back through the exact same way that you came in. You don't want it to go through the opposite direction. It has to go back through out the same way that it came in. And once you do that, once again, you're going to want to lubricate your line a little bit, and then all you do is you cinch that completely tight, and you have yourself a perfectly tied Albright knot. So now that we have the Albright knot tied, I just want to show you guys how strong this knot is. I've never once had this knot fail me. If you tie it properly, you could pull on this thing as hard as you possibly can, and that knot's going to hold. So that is, in my opinion, the best braid to fluoro leader that you could tie, the best knot that you could tie for a braid to fluoro leader. Like I said, never had it fail me, and it's super easy to tie. It only takes a couple seconds, and you're going to get a super, super strong knot. So that is the 3rd knot, and that is pretty much the only 3 knots that you guys need to know. If you guys are going fishing, you need to know how to tie a knot to a regular lure, you need to know how to tie a snell knot for heavy flipping, and you need to know how to tie a braid to fluoro leader knot. And that's it. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I hope this video helped you out a lot. And thank you so much to the Mystery Tackle Box channel for letting me take it over once again. But thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next video.